Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest in the building. We have Steve Rifkind here. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you.
And you brought your son with you this time?
The head to the throne. Alex.
What's good?
What's up, bro?
Now, for somebody who doesn't know who Steve Rifkind is, can you just give him a quick rundown of what you've done, who you signed, who you found, and all your success?
Started Loud Records.
Mm-hmm.
We had the first act was Twister, then the Alcoholics, then Wu-Tang, then Mobb Deep, then a Rifkind solo record, Pun, Exhibit, 3-6 Mafia, MOP, Dead Prez, Flex, the mixtape albums. Then I started SRC Records, and that was David Banner, Akon, Melanie Fiona, Asher Roth, and Chantel.
You say that so calmly.
It's
You
so
say that so
calm.
calmly and humbly, like it's, it's another day at the office for most executives.
Now,
no,
where you
it's
from,
not.
Steve? You're from
I'm from New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I wanted to know? Twister was your first artist. You're
Yeah.
from Chicago.
Exactly.
What made you sign Twister as your first signing?
I was living in L.A., so I had the street team, right? So I founded the street team, and my guy who was doing all my street promotion in Chicago found him. And I was like, all right, this is something different. And just the record was buzzing in Chicago, and just that was it.
What would you call it? Would you call it luck? Would you call it I don't know, being at the right place at the right time to find those type of legacy artists?
Wu-Tang,
back to
Mobb
back to
Deep,
back.
3-6 Mafia, Pun, Twister.
I mean, like I said, I never considered myself an A&R guy. I considered my A&R staff to be the best A&R staff in the business. But timing, luck, being as you said, being right place, right time. To me, that's all part of luck, right? So, I mean, to be good, you got to be lucky.
And you're having the 25th anniversary of Loud Records?
We're having the tonight at Radio City.
Do you feel like you waited too long to do this?
No, you know me pretty well, so it's not like I like to shine. But when I saw Puff show, I was like, I got to do it, but I didn't have the balls to do it.
Why not?
Just it wasn't, Puff is Puff, and it's like, and that show that he put on, I thought it was probably the best show I've ever seen in my life. And then with me, I don't like the limelight, really. I'm here to promote the show but I should have probably did it 2-3 years ago, maybe,
Yeah.
but I'm doing it now.
What's your relationship with the artists, with Wu-Tang and with Havoc and with 3-6 and with all those artists?
I still work with them. I started a new management company. So, I help Juicy and Paul from 3-6 whenever they can. Me and RZA still talk pretty much 3-4 times a week.
Okay.
Me and Joe talk 3-4 times a week. So I still pretty much talk to everybody.
Do you ever regret not making Loud Records more uniformed? And what I mean by that is I think the only reason Loud doesn't get mentioned with the greatest labels of all time is because they weren't uniform. Like, you didn't necessarily know Big Pun was with Loud Records. You didn't necessarily know Mobb Deep was with Loud Records. Like, Bad Boy looked like a crew. You know what I'm saying? Or who else? Rockefeller looked like a crew. Loud didn't look like a crew
Death Row,
per se.
Uptown.
I mean, we had our crew was quiet, so like Puff was Puff again, right? Russell was Russell. Suge and Dre was Suge and Dre. So I like I said, I just consider myself a promotion guy, and it wasn't like, to me, it wasn't about rah-rah. It was about just really, getting the work done. And our thing was, we sold 200 million records without any radio play. So
You guys took a different approach. You guys focused on the streets and the DJs.
yeah.
Unlike a lot of the others. And a lot of guys followed your lead. Was there any artist that you had a chance to sign that you didn't sign and be like, damn, kicked yourself in the ass later on?
I mean, Jay, not that I kicked myself in the ass. As a joint venture, you have to get permission at certain times. So I go back with Dame when he was literally a kid, when him and his cousin were managing Original Flavor. And BMG said, you're signing too much, and we're not going to let you sign it. So
Even though that you were selling so many records, because it's not like you were signing and you was catching bricks, like you was selling records.
But, I was selling a hell of a lot of records, but I was also abusing the hell out of them. You know, I mean, so it's not like my relationship with BMG was that great.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but don't put a cap on me now, and I'm about to sign
Yeah.
the greatest rapper of all time.
Anybody else that
Hold on,
you
you was gonna do a partnership, so you knew back then, like they wanted that from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Rockefeller, yeah.
Yeah. They said we can't do a JV through a JV. I wasn't even a JV yet, I don't think, to be
What is
honest
a
with you.
JV? Joint venture.
A joint venture.
Gotcha.
And then M. But that really,
Eminem?
yeah, but that didn't really kick me in the ass because at the end of the day, if he wasn't with Dre, I mean, that was just magical.
Perfect storm.
I think M would have worked with Loud Records though.
He was that type of rapper.
Yeah.
He was, but he wouldn't have sold 100 million records out loud. He would have been a gold to maybe platinum artist, not a 15 million artist at a shot.
I agree.
Wu-Tang did. Who was your highest selling artist? Was it Wu-Tang?
On loud?
Yeah.
Yeah, Wu-Tang.
Okay.
The Wu-Tang Forever, I think we did, 12 million albums.
Yeah, so it's possible.
Jeez.
But don't forget, we didn't get any radio play. So, you know, for M to do those 15, you know, anything after 3 million, you really need real radio play.
Wu-Tang
Gotcha.
Forever, that was Triumph.
Yeah,
That did radio. That was on radio.
not really.
Only New York? Though?
Just New York.
Just New York. Wow.
So what was it? The branding of Wu-Tang at the time? The fact that Wu-Tang was so big, everybody was anticipating it. The soul, you know.
I mean, there was a lot. I mean, everybody was anticipating it. The
ODB just passed.
No, you know,
Nah.
he was away. He didn't
He
pass
was away.
it.
Yeah, bro. He was away.
But it was coming off the Cuban Links album. So don't forget, it was 36 Chambers, Meth,
Mhm.
ODB,
Old Dirty.
Ray,
Raekwon.
and then Jizza. And then we came back. Oh, then Ghost.
Ghostface,
And
Supreme
Ghost.
Clientele.
Ghost. And then we came with the double album. And you know, we got New York radio, but you know, but the video also, that was the first $1 million hip hop video ever.
What did you think about the Wu-Tang series on Hulu?
I loved it. I didn't like how they portrayed my dad, but I loved it.
Yeah. So was it realistic? You said that you didn't like the way they portrayed your pops?
Yeah, everything was realistic. I mean, just, you know, if you know my dad really wasn't my dad.
Mhm.
So that was the whole thing.
You didn't have no say in it?
No, I mean, don't forget, I guess we'll have a say in it. You know, the series got picked up.
Mhm.
So I guess, you know, it ends with me calling RZA. You know, well, they're on the bus to North Carolina. So I guess, you know, me and RZA will figure out what, you know, we're going to put in, you know.
That season 2 story arc might already be written, Steve. You know, I don't know.
Now, also, I know a couple of years ago you went through some health battles.
Yeah.
Now, how was that? Because I know you had a heart attack.
I had a heart attack. I got to lose 15 pounds now. I tore my Achilles. I had the operation a year ago. So I gained some weight, but otherwise I'm good. You know,
Did the heart attack come from bad food, bad eating, unhealthy, or is it just hereditary?
I didn't go to the doctor for 30 years.
Okay, that'll do it.
So my heart attack could have been not even happening if I went to a doctor and said, hey, you know what, your blood pressure's high, your cholesterol's high, take some meds or change your diet, this, that, or whatever. And I just never went to the doctor.
Jeez.
And Alex, you into music too, right?
Yes, sir.
You feel pressure?
Nah.
Now, what do you do in music?
I just started a JV with Atlantic.
Okay. Is this the son that was playing basketball?
Yeah.
So no more basketball?
No more basketball.
Yo, your dad was super coach, super dad. I was like, you're going to the league. So what made you stop playing ball if you stopped and decided to do music?
I was playing college ball, and I got to a point where I was just losing the love for it, and I knew I wanted to go into music. I just didn't know when the time was. And then an opportunity presented itself, and I was like, and along with me losing the love, I'm like, you know what? Let me just give myself like a 2-year head start on just building relationships and learning the business. And then about 2.5 years later, an opportunity presented itself to get a JV with my business partner and an artist. He's actually out there named Katil. And then it just came to fruition.
Where'd you find him? Where's he from?
Seattle, 21 years old from Seattle. Super, super dope. Lyricist, artist. He does it all. He's the man. So I'm very excited for him.
Now, do you look at the roster that your father had with Loud Records and say to yourself, if I don't build something like this, I possibly
I
might.
don't really
I'm taking him out of the will.
I don't really look at life like that. If I don't do this, I kind of just approach it every day. Because when you look at stuff like that, that's when you fail, and that's when you lose happiness, because you're chasing something that, 200 million records is a lot of records.
Yeah.
So I just try to just focus on every day, and how can I win this day? I'm not about hitting the grand slam. How can I get on first base every day? Because at some point you will hit the grand slam with bases loaded. So that's what I'm focused on right now.
What was your upbringing like though? Because I'm sure you was privileged in a lot of ways.
Most definitely.
You know what I mean? Like,
Most
how
definitely.
did you I guess have the energy of the hustle, as opposed to just sitting back and be like, yo, let me let daddy do it for me.
That comes from basketball, man. Like him being the super coach. It's like when your dad is the coach, people would think it's the best thing ever because you get to play this and the third, but you really get it harder than everybody
That's right.
else.
Put more pressure on your kids.
And where I played ball was in the hood, and I went to school with rich kids. So it was a good balance between seeing fortunate situations and less fortunate situations.
Mm-hmm.
So it just taught me to be grateful for what I do have, because I realize it's not normal. And because on the court, I wasn't the most athletic, I wasn't the best, all I could do was shoot, I had to work a million times harder just to be average, just to hold myself on the court. So I learned a work ethic through basketball, and I just been every day trying to figure out how can I apply that same work ethic to music.
How did Steve Rifkin's son impact you as far as like, when you shopping these label deals and stuff? Like, is that a calling card you can use? Because you don't lead with that.
I use it to get into doors.
Yeah.
I would be dumb if I didn't.
Word.
Because if the next person was in my situation, they would use it harder than I do.
Absolutely.
And growing up, that's something I dealt with. But as you mature and everything like that, you just learn to accept it, because there's nothing you could do. I was born into it. I'm grateful for it. I'm extremely grateful for it.
If I can't name drop my father, who can I name drop? You know what I'm saying?
And that's the thing. It's not like he's just somebody I know. Like, he's my dad.
Right.
I can't run from it. I'm going to own it. So like I said, I use it to get into rooms, no doubt. But when me and my partner get into a room, we do our thing, and then people are just going to have to respect us for who we are as people, not the legacy we're attached to.
Would you ever
I'm attached to.
Would you have ever signed anything less than a joint venture? If they were like, look, we like the guy, we want to sign him to an artist, but we don't want to do a joint venture.
If the deal points are right, yeah.
Yeah.
And let me ask you, how many times have you got threatened in this industry? We was talking to Steve Stout the other day. He was talking about some of the war stories, and I was like, how many times would you dealing with all these artists? Because you didn't deal with one artist that was not from the street, not from the hood. Wu-Tang, Mobb Deep, Big Pun, Fat Joe, 3-6 Mafia. Like, they was all M.O.P. How many times did you get threatened?
I never got threatened by an artist.
Really?
Yeah, I got a death threat one. Actually, it was an artist that I didn't know. So, say I gave you a label deal, and I write you $1 million check, and you owe him, he's your artist, and you owe him $200,000, but you bought a house with that, and he goes, "Where's your money?" And you say, "Go to Rifkind." I have no idea who he is.
Gotcha.
So somebody came up the house, shot up the house.
Shot up your house?
Yeah.
Shot up your house?
Yeah.
Yikes.
And so that was one time.
Did you drop the artist?
I didn't know until the guy was, so now the next day the house is like Port Apache, like you can't get in. He tries breaking through the gates. So, and then we found out what it was, and I haven't heard from the guy or seen the guy since.
Is he swimming with the fishes, or is he just dropped him?
he's so,
Never mind, Steve. Go ahead.
And then the second time is when I was selling Loud to Sony. But it wasn't an artist again. It was an executive that I guess worked for the company that we were merging with. But otherwise,
All the artists now. That means you treated them well.
I treat them like people, right? That's, and this is the thing that I just don't understand. You're an artist, and we sell, not even gold, we sell 300,000 records. This is when we were selling records, right? I'm making money. You're making money. So it's like, I'm grateful. So it's like, I'm going to do everything I possibly can to go through that wall for you. So, you take Exhibit, for example. His first 3 records we did 250, 300,000, and then it was his plan to bring in Dre and do Restless. So I said, hey, you know what? If you're really bringing in Dre, I'm going to make him my partner on this record. So I always look at the artist where it's like the artist comes first. Like if we don't have artists, we don't have a company.
That's real.
Right? So, that's where it was, and then my staff, we were all built the same way. I had my brother, I had Rich Isaacson, then I had a guy by the name of Mojo Nicosia, and we would just, me and Mojo, and then Rob Stone from the Cornerstone Fader came along, and we would just literally, I say we built something brick by brick, but we would also take out the brick by brick to go through that wall.
How do you not jerk an artist?
How do you not jerk an artist?
Yeah.
By being straight.
What's the contract that is best for the artist?
Something that the artist could truly live with, and something that the artist could make real money with. If I give you $5 million, yeah, you're making $5 million today, but you'll never get another check from us, right? Mm-hmm. So that's really what it is. Something that the artist could live now, but could also live five years from now. Mm-hmm. If you look at everybody that's performing tonight, we're talking, 25, 26 years later. Mm-hmm. They're still relevant.
Yeah.
Fat Joe is still making hits.
Yep. Absolutely.
Remy's still making hits.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got everybody's gonna be there?
Everybody's coming tonight.
Everybody that's alive, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're doing tributes for
yeah, we're doing a tribute of Prodigy, Pun, ODB, and Pun.
Wow. Well, tonight the show goes down. Are there tickets still available?
Some tickets are.
All right. Some tickets are still available. Radio City Music Hall tonight. What time's the show?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
Doors open up at 7.
You still got a relationship with Akon?
Yeah, Akon actually, he called me Monday saying he wished he was coming. But it's Super Bowl weekend, and I guess
Super Bowl weekend, I gotta
right?
get this check.
I gotta get this back.
I think he's doing a car show out there, a big car show kind of thing. Yeah, he's doing.
Did you ever think about doing it in Miami for a second, just because it was Super Bowl weekend? He was like, I gotta do it in New York.
No, so originally we were gonna do it at the Prudential Center
in Jersey.
In Jersey in October, and it just didn't feel right to me, as great as the Prudential Center is. Mm-hmm. And it was always my dream to make it a little bit smaller, so I pulled the show. And Radio City has always been a dream. I remember, that's where the Grammys were, that's where the MTV Awards were, and I lived right down the block from there. So it was just like I wanted to see the Loud Name and lights, as you walk by. So,
mm-hmm. I wanted to ask you one more question. Do you think that roster of artists could have worked in this era with this technology, or vice versa? If you had that technology back then with this roster of artists, would you have sold 200 million or more? Like, what would it have been like?
It would have been streaming, right? So I don't know what 200 million is compared, to whatever the streaming number is. But, street promotion is still street promotion, right? Now that they're just doing it online. I think if the artists that I had then, if I had them now, I think that we would probably be bigger. Because the record companies don't have to rely on radio, right? There's playlisting, there's all different avenues. YouTube, what Leo and Tuma have done with YouTube has been amazing. To me, they're the new radio station. Mm-hmm. If you don't have YouTube, you have nothing.
Right.
I think that too, and I think the fact that, you remember back then, to cross over and to get overseas, it would take a long time for records to build. Now you just put it online and somebody in Asia can hear it immediately. Somebody in South Africa can hear it immediately.
You're 100% right. It would take us, like, on the Wu-Tang's second album, we debuted #1 around the world pretty much in every country. But on the first album, we came in with the album November 9th, and then we didn't put it out internationally until March. Mm-hmm. So you're 100% correct.
Right.
Alex, what did you apply? What did you learn from your father that he used back then that you use now?
Oh, and look and here's
Fat Joe.
Fat Joe came in.
Just a work ethic, man. You know what I'm saying? Because in music, you hit it's a bumpy road. It's a lot of ups and downs. So
there's Uncle Dan.
Joey Crack. Joey Crack.
What up, Joe Crack?
Joe is the only guy that he just gonna pop up no matter what, anytime, anywhere.
Nah, this is my brother.
That's Joey Crack.
Steve Rifkind, the Don, man. He's my mentor.
Joe Crack.
He's the man who changed my life, put me in the game. So
Microphone,
when
Joe.
he
Microphone.
calls,
Microphone right there for you.
They don't even understand.
Oh,
Like
this
they
is
don't even understand the type of juice this guy got. Like they be like, "Yo, you getting up to go sell Steve Rifkin's show? Like, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Yo, y'all don't want to say he bought my mother's house. You know this guy. You know he saved my life. Am I talking?
Yeah, in the mic right there.
That's
We get him a chair. Can we
You
get him
gotta
a chair,
give up your
please?
chair, Alex.
that's the future exec. You know he on his grind.
Oh no, Alex be hustling. So you remember the first time you met Steve, Joe? What was that
Yeah.
call like?
So I think Mickey Benson set it up. I had Big Pun, and Big Pun was like on my album. And so we set up a meeting to go see Steve. The crazy thing is I walk in there with Pun. We didn't even have a demo yet. I walk in there with Pun, and Steve says, "Yo, let me talk to you for a second." And so I walk out the office with him. He says, "Yo, people, like 8 different music execs call me. They said you're a murderer, drug dealer, extorterer.
Anything with an
not meet with you." He said, "But I don't think you know who I am. I'm gangster, and that turns me on. So I really wanted to have the meeting with you." And he signed Big Pun off a freestyle.
Wow.
Really?
A freestyle. We're not telling all the kids out there that's how you're gonna get on.
Right.
But that's what happened for Big Pun. It really happened like that. And you could tell the environment when we was walking in there. You want me to tell the story?
I mean, Joe, nobody tells a story better
So
than
he
you.
says when we was walking up there, he already knew what time it was. Big Pun was signed before he rapped.
Oh, so then you talk about Matty. Yes.
Matty C and all these guys who never want to show up to work on time, never this and this and that. You gotta understand, this is Mobb Deep, Wu-Tang, biggest label on earth. So these guys are like the Brooklyn Johnnies of the time, walking around like they floating in the air, right? They all there. And he was like, "Yo, I knew." The whole office was like, "Yo, the Punisher's coming in here." So then Pun rap for him, and all of them was in the office. He was like, "Oh, we got to sign this guy."
Right. And they said, "Well, we haven't heard music." I'm like, "It's your job to make the music." I said, "Joe, who's your lawyer?" The lawyer was Tim Mandelbaum.
There's nobody like Steve Rifkind on the planet Earth, man. I'm talking about we killed Steve Rifkind, man. Thank God he's still alive, man. Because you got to imagine, he used to deal with Old Dirty Bastard.
Yes.
Yeah.
He did Mobb Deep. Everybody had a problem.
I just asked him. I said,
No,
I said,
he's
"You ever
the
got
greatest
threatened?"
guy in the
He said-
world.
he said he never
And
got threatened.
he always had a problem. Everybody's waiting. Yo, I gotta speak to Steve. It was a line. So you would see like Prodigy and them. You would see Raekwon and Coles. You would see Big Pun is a different type of animal. He's sitting in there like, "Yo, I'm waiting for Steve. Yo, this, that." Like, but Steve. The reason why. So Uncle Dan used to have a former job prior to working with me. So now he knows of Steve, but he said to me this morning, he said, "Yo, man, this guy Steve Rifkind got a lot of juice, right?" I said, "Yo, he fed everybody, bro.
Yeah.
Like, he got a different type of juice. He fed everybody. When you're a good person like that, there's nothing they not gonna do for you. At least we hope, right?"
When you signed Flex back in the day, right? What made you sign a DJ to a album deal? Because that was before Clue and
It was way before
way
Clue.
before all of that.
Before
Yeah,
Clue, before Kid Capriola.
60 Minutes of Funk,
Yeah.
classic records. To me.
It was really almost a thank you. Like, there were, what? You guys weren't in business yet.
So that's
Yeah,
better than
right?
payola?
No, it was. I said, let's do it. He had a brand. He was the only one really in New York on the radio at the time. I said, let's take advantage of that.
And it worked.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
we
so
had
happened to
platinum.
records?
We on the first album, and then the second and third album went platinum.
Wow. How did you make them not use just loud artists? Because you didn't limit them.
No, I mean, that's early. I mean,
That's another.
I mean,
Another thing.
how-
Steve let you do what you want to do. Steve, he either was very lucky. I mean, keeping it real.
no, we
He was
talked.
either-
We
Yeah,
talked about
He
that.
was
yeah.
either very lucky
Or blessed.
he was like Bugsy Siegel. He went out there to the desert and was like, "This could be Vegas." Like, he was signing people off of demos, Old Dirty Bastard, this one, that one, this one, and they was all blowing up.
Yeah.
So he was like 3-6 Mafia, this, and he was like, and that's what it was. He was just like, it was all about the art. It was always about the art, the artist, and the culture. and it wasn't nothing. It wasn't about anything else. It was about making good music, letting artists be who they be. He had this girl that was ahead of her time. What was the girl named? The R&B chick?
Davina.
That girl was incredible. She was. Jill Scott was doing like that type of music 10 years later, and we was like, oh my God, this is brand new. So he was just like a big risk taker, and he believed in people. And
You know, and there's a difference between trying to sell somebody and seeing the passion in somebody's eyes. So if you have something in your eyes that I see, who am I to say no? Like, go ahead, show and prove, and I'll have you back 150%.
Did you ever tell artists when you didn't like music, or did it matter? You didn't care?
I liked everything that I signed, but it's like, you know, with Dead Prez,
he signed Dead Prez, bro.
you know, they had their own vision. I'm like,
This Dead Prez, man. It's bigger than hip,
you know,
hop, hip, hop.
I'm like,
hip, hop.
do you? You know, so who, like, again, I looked at myself as a promotion guy. I didn't come from the street. My dad had, you know, to this day, I still feel probably one of the coolest labels of all time. Where, you know, it was Joe Simon, Fatback Band, Millie Jackson, James Brown. He gave Russell his first record deal. So and I saw how he dealt with the artist, and that's.
Steve, can I tell him my Italian restaurant experience in Vegas?
Yeah, as long as we don't get in trouble.
No, I can get you in a lot of trouble. I was hanging out with your son yesterday. I was just telling positive things. The man Steve, I'm in Vegas with my wife. The man Steve invites me to his uncle's restaurant or whatever. Steve is, I guess, like Fat Joe, because nobody really treats me to dinners. Like, I pay for all my dinners all the time. If you do, hallelujah.
Okay.
But when we go with him, he's paying, right? It's just like, that's how it goes, right? So I go with no cash to this Italian restaurant. When I walk in, as soon as I walk in with my wife, the man says, right this way, book, and cracks the biggest bottle of Cristal open and pours it over and this. And I'm like, all right, man, you know, you this and that. We supposed to meet Steve. So as we sit down, they're bringing lobsters and hors d'oeuvres and all type of, I mean, Thanksgiving, they won't stop bringing the stuff. And we like, and now it's 20 minutes, it's 40 minutes, it's 60 minutes. I'm calling Steve. He ain't picking up his phone. We got the old school phone, the trap phone. I'm like, yo, Steve, and he ain't hitting back. I'm like, I start getting anxiety. I start telling my wife, like, holy shit. We don't have no money right now. How we gonna pay for this thing right here? I'm sinking under the couch. I'm like, yo, this is crazy, man. Where's Steve? Like, you know, because we so take it for granted he's coming to pay. So I tell my wife finally, I said, look, I'm going to sneak out of here and go to the cash machine so I could go get some money, because this was real. Like, they was popping champagnes, all type of. So I finally get back for the cash machine. So I go, my friend, they would only give you $1,000 too. I'm like, my friend, can I have the bill? He's like, no, Steve paid for it. I was like, oh my God.
Bring another bottle.
Nah, but yeah, man. We got a lot of memories, man.
When he said to you that you were an extortioner and a gangster and a murderer, Joe, what was your reaction? What did you say? What was your reply to that?
My reaction is, I really, Fat Joe, if he does the movie correctly, it'd be like the most corniest transition, because I really was in the streets, and the minute I got signed, Chris Lighty signed, I was not down with any more illegal activity. And because I knew the stereotype that he was saying to me, I knew people were so scared of me that I became the softest guy in the industry, because I was trying to be nice. Hey, how's it going? And you was being like, dang, he's a nice guy. Like, this guy, like, I was like really trying to prove to people I wasn't that.
When?
I'm just saying. No.
This new Fat Joe came out like maybe 10 years ago.
I'm saying it could have got crazy out here, man. Like, we was doing things like, if we'd have did that in this industry, we'd have been gone a long time ago. My best friend, you know, Joe Montana, may he rest in peace. You know, I got a tattoo of him on my arm. Like, he died just before I got on. If he wouldn't have died, we would have killed the whole industry, literally. So I'm like, you know, when I think about him, when I think about Big Pun, like, Big Pun was like, I told him the other day, I don't want to, you know, it's my brother, rest in peace. Boy, Big Pun was gonna go to jail for a very long time sooner or later. Like he was like really Looney Tunes, bro. Like you know what I'm saying?
Even
like,
after the platinum records and everything?
bro, you sit on a pillow and there's a machine gun. Like when you sit in this couch, there's a machine gun. Then you go open the cabinet, there's another hammer. It's another this. He had 20 guys in there with all type. And I'm the big brother. So I know everybody grew up with is in jail for 10,000 years. I'm like, bro, you're going to jail.
Would you have signed Pun without Joe? Steven, what I mean by that is Joe could at least control that type of situation.
I didn't know Joe.
Okay.
Right? So they walked in and like they literally like put a smile to my face. I was like, I've never done a deal like this in my life. They walked in. I was leaving to LA to see my wife and kids. And I called Mandelbaum. I said, Tim, we're doing this. Don't don't mess around.
Fuck this up,
right?
yeah.
Don't mess around. We're doing this. And the deal was done 2 weeks later.
Wow.
I mean, it would have been done the next day if, just like getting the lawyers, play phone tag with each other.
The crazy thing about Big Pun's still not a player. This is a true story. I played it one time on the radio. One time, the first one spin. This is a true story. By the time I hit in the morning show, by the time I hit the lobby, Leo Cohen, Craig Cowman, anybody you can name in the history was in the lobby. Every executive, Joe, this way, Joe, this way, Joe, this way. They were like, do you have other Puerto Ricans that rap?
Do you have other
like,
Puerto
oh
Ricans?
my God, like one spin. And, but I think this man, he gave me an opportunity to prove that I could be an executive. You know what I mean? And that people wasn't just looking at me as an artist and at that time I was an underground artist. Like I would have never made big records if it wasn't for Big Pun, because when Pun made so much money that we used to perform for guys with army jackets and there was twisting razors while we were performing and some girls that were like tomboys, and then all of a sudden when Pun did Still Not a Player, beautiful girls was coming to the show. We were doing corporate events. It gives you a different type of money vibe. So when Pun passed away, rest in peace, at the time Pun passed away, I was still army fatigue, hardcore Fat Joe. But I was like, oh no, I gotta make some big records. I gotta get back into that Pepsi. You know what I mean? I gotta get that check. So,
That was a radio record, Steve. Still Not a Player.
It was the only one it was the only one we had.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
pretty much. No, actually, the 3-6 Mafia came with Sippin' on Some Syrup, and Project Pat.
Sippin' on Some Scissor.
That wasn't y'all made it a radio record, but
yeah. So, but it was off of Pun's, back. But at the end of the day, it was really still just. We just came with the street records. Wow. But I got to tell
I guess that's equivalent to like a real streaming artist that you don't hear on the radio all the time. Now, it would be like that.
Yeah, I got a great Pun story. The album's not out yet, but the record is the single's blowing up, and he comes to the office and he has this brand new beautiful Cuban link bracelet that says Punisher on it. All diamonds, everything. I was like, wow, this is some bread. I mean, that's amazing. Show money must be pretty good. He goes, if we go platinum, I'm going to get you one. I said, Joe, we're shipping platinum. He goes, double platinum. I said, we're probably going to ship double platinum. Pun. And I said, if we do 3 million, we'll get it. So we hit the 3 million mark. And my product manager, a guy by the name of Gerard Hunt, says, hey, Pun wants to come see you today. I'm like, he wants to talk about the next album. I said, does Joe know? And I'm like, yeah. So he comes in and we start fooling around. I said, I got an issue with you. I always thought you were a man of your word. And I was just fooling around, right? I'm like, you said you were going to get me a bracelet at 3 million. We're at 3.5 million records sold, whatever it was. And puts his hand in his pocket and throws like a cake, like a box. And he goes, here. And he throws it, and it's the Cuban link bracelet. Same exact, but with my name on it.
Wow.
And it was just like, it literally brought tears.
Wow.
It brought tears to my eyes. And I got it in a box, in a frame box in my house.
Wow.
Wow. So he had it the whole time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pun was like that, man. Pun was working on his second album, and so I walk into his hotel room. His wife was there. I think Prospect, a couple of guys, and everybody was quiet, and he was just kept like, it felt weird, right? So I was like, yo, why is there a weird vibe in here? Mm-hmm. And then everybody's looking, and then he finally was like, yo, look. And when I looked, he had a tattoo of my face on his hand.
Wow.
So everybody was like, they wonder, how do you act like with you know, everybody talk good about people when they dead. He was literally the most loyal guy I ever met in my life. And
he loved being a celebrity too.
Yo, Pun would go in the limo in front of DMX's album release signing and go out there and make it rain. He start throwing $100 bills at the crowd. He's standing outside. Yo, tell DMX, tell the Locks to come out here. Big Pun is like he was a problem. And what I say about Pun is Pun gave artists the opportunity that nobody would ever. Pun was double platinum. And if he seen rappers rapping on the corner in the cypher, he would get out and literally battle them. Nobody would do that. Nobody, you can't see nobody on that level who would just come out and let a kid, if the kid was nice, he would kill Big Pun. I used to beg him. Same thing with Remy when she did when she battled Lady Luck and all that. I was like, yo, what's wrong with you? You lean back. You number one. You got the pink Benz outside. What are you doing battling these people? Nah, this is the wave. This is like, oh my God. But Pun was the same way. He would go. He was something else, man. He was. Are you
gonna cry tonight at the tribute? You think?
Me?
Yeah.
Nah, I won't cry. But I'm gonna tell you something. It's the most stressful event I ever done. Wow. Not more than a award show, more than a concert.
Why is that?
More than this, because it got to be perfect. And it's just so many. I was telling Alex yesterday, there's so many different components to this. Like, I'm trying to pitch a shutout. So we never done, it's a Loud Records, and we never really truly done a Big Pun tribute. Where, you know, the real, like this is it. For me, this is it. Like, what are we going to do? The 30th? Like, come on, bro. Like, we got to get this right. So there's a lot of things that could go wrong.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then, you know, how do you please? So the fans know there's never been a Big Pun tribute like that. So they in there, and they might want to hear the joint with him and Prospect. Mm-hmm. They might want to hear all B-sides.
Yeah.
They're like, this fat, he coming with the kids. Like, you know, it's a lot of stress.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm sure for Steve, it's even more stress. So I've been trying to calm him down. Like, yo, Steve, is going to go right. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, you're celebrating a legacy. This is Loud Records. You want it to be energetic. You want everybody to go. So what I'm aiming for is the best show any 90s hip-hop fan has ever seen.
Gotcha.
So my 20-minute slot, I want you as a fan. Shout out my man Ron Mills, right? So I call up Ron Mills, who's a good friend of mine. I say, yo, Ron, I want you to be my guest and come backstage. He said, brother, I bought 2 tickets. There's no way I'm going backstage.
He wants to enjoy.
He said, you're not going to rob this from me. I'm going to be in the crowd watching the show. And
I think I'm going to be in the crowd too, because I'm usually like stage right, stage left for, you know, any of the old artists. And I think I'm going to be in the crowd. I mean,
you want to feel the energy.
Yeah.
But shout out to Ron Mills, Sirius Radio. And tonight is the show. There's still some tickets available, so get there early. And we appreciate you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
And I'm sure you're going to be filming it, so.
I think so.
Okay. All right. I think so.
Well, I got like 4 camera dudes, so you'll see it. We got camera dudes watching camera dudes tonight. It's going to be legendary.
You got to do so many hits because you got 20 minutes. You got a lot of records to do more than 20 minutes.
All I'm just telling you is I'm going to be dressed in that cocaine white, baby.
Okay. All right.
That's that extra white. That's that NVT white. You know what I'm saying? We going hard, boy.
All right. It's Fat Joe, Stephen Rifkind. It's The Breakfast Club. Good morning.